You're listening to W9.9 WPG.
Yeah.
The
Do you,
PG.
do you have a sultry radio introduction?
I do. I'm gonna say it in just a moment. I haven't memorized.
You're listening.
I don't do it salty now.
The Sunday night scaries.
You're listening to WMPG Gorham, Portland, 90.9 FM. This is Southern Maine Community Radio from the University of Southern Maine. My name is DJ BC here at the station. I also make music as Brickmason as part of a larger kind of cool collective community of what are we, the Vaporwave umbrella, you guys, right?
Yeah,
Accurate.
I'm here tonight with three cool guys in alphabetical order. Darthwave, I'm here with Lynx Linux, and I'm here with Ronan Farrow. Welcome you guys to the show.
Hey, thanks for having us.
What's going on? Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So together, the word triumvirate works rather well, I think, and is on your label page. You guys all are part of Revenant Cassette Corp. You guys all want to like jump in and talk about that?
I think Ronan should take the lead on this one.
People are driving around Portland, Maine right now, listening in their cars. What kind of label do you run? What kind of music generally do you guys release?
Okay. Revenant Cassette Corp is a small boutique record label. We have a presence on Bandcamp, and we have a presence on YouTube. And I like to think of us as kind of half record label, half YouTube channel. We focus mainly on Vaporwave and Vaporwave-related music. At the end of the day, what it comes down to is indie electronic music. So we might have some of that slowed down 80s style on one album that we thought, or we might have a trap album release, or our most recent one is kind of more of a breakbeat kind of heavy metal, inspired by video game music type album. So we definitely don't want to pigeon ourselves to just, slowed and reverbed, plundered wave files. But yeah, we want to explore as much creativity as there is with all the amazing artists there are out there who just haven't found an audience yet.
And I guess I'll, again, kind of keep doing this alphabetical order. I'm sorry, Darth. I'm going to keep throwing the questions at you. You get less time.
For it, yeah.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. I'm Darthwave, part of Revenant Cassette Corp with Ronan and Lynx here. Just a little small-time artist out of Oklahoma. Trying to get my foot in the vaporwave world. I've got my own little project going on called Broke Labs, and that really started is me and my wife were making T-shirts on Etsy, right? And we were just pressing T-shirts on Etsy, having a good time doing graphic design, and we got censored due to being too progressive with our designs, I guess. It doesn't really fly in our community here in Oklahoma either. It doesn't really fit the country southern community here either. But yeah, we were taken off of Etsy, and so we took our designs to Bandcamp because simultaneously I was, having an aesthetic focus with our designs, and meanwhile producing music. I'm kind of new to producing. I tried it out a few times in the past few years, but this year I finally got the gear to where I could really make music, and just really wanted to take it with the graphic design aspect and kind of offer my services to other artists that I find. I wanted it to be really local, find some more vaporwave artists in my community, but there's really not that many. so that's kind of how I got linked up with these guys here, Ronan and Lynx. We kind of met through Mossy Frog Tapes comp that they did, Froggy Wave. Right. Am I right, you guys? That's kind of how we got linked up.
I think we all submitted to about 3 different comps around the same time.
Oasis.
Yeah, Cloudcore, Froggy Wave.
Yeah, we had all had just like finished up a round of music that we made, and we're just kind of like sending it out into the internet and see where it stuck. And through that process, we started interacting on Twitter, and we were like, we need to collaborate. We all kind of had the same vision of wanting to bring people together and offer as much to the community as we could, and took off from there. And I think we really wanted to focus on the visual aspect of the music we release. That's kind of how Revenaut started. We're not limiting ourselves to only visual releases, but having a nice visual mix, a music video for a whole album that you can just watch from start to finish, is kind of how we wanted to get things going. And that's how it got started with Moonbase Thanatos.
I want to stick to yours for just a moment. You guys, well, not you guys. Hi, Darth. You released an awesome album called Tram. You have a lot of tags for what kind of music you describe this as.
Because I myself didn't know at first.
So you have experimental, vaporwave, you have ambient, astral projection, down-tempo, meditation.
These are all why I know him. All these strange ones.
Ohm wave, plunderphonics, which for people listening in, plundering, we use that term a lot in this field. When you plunder something, you sample something, and you're not going to reach out to like Drake or Lauryn Hill and pay them for the sample because we don't have.
Yeah, we're kind of circumventing the copyright process.
In my case, the late Dr. Robert A. Monroe, rest in power.
You want to talk about that release a bit? Tram?
Yeah, I'd love to. So, being kind of new to producing, I honestly hadn't. There's people who are a lot better at keeping up with the community's releases than I am. And so I kind of like went into hermit mode for a while and just wanted to figure out what my sound was without being too heavily influenced. For me, starting Broke Labs, I really wanted there to be a focus on the esoteric, the divine, the spiritual, because it's a big part of my life. Yeah, you noticed one of the tags is astral projection. I hate to get a little woo-woo on your radio listeners, but it's been a big part of my life, honestly. It's kind of made me who I am today. I've had quite a few experiences that are hard to explain with anything other than the fact that we are so much more than just physical beings. So it's a big part of my aesthetic palette, my mantra, the way I make music, the way I approach things. It has an influence of cymatics, which is the science behind the audio forms that we're listening to, implementing frequencies, binaural beats, being able to add in like solfeggio frequencies, alpha, theta, delta frequencies. That's kind of what I focused on for Tram. I guess you could say it's kind of like a guided meditation into astral projection, with the theme of you're on a train going underwater into the very deep sea. So it has that aquatic influence, and at the same time, it's kind of a progressively calming experience. It starts off a little strong with the second track is like kind of upbeat. And it gets more and more down tempo as you go down the track list. You're also widening in frequencies. So the lower you go in the track list, you're actually hearing frequencies. They're subtle, but they're stilling your mind. They actually are having a scientific effect on your brain waves and making you more relaxed as you listen. You need headphones. Got to have that stereo. Welcome to the Shinkai Tram. Please proceed this way for boarding and remain seated for the entire duration of your undersea voyage. Here you will experience the sounds of the ocean in its purest form. Deep relaxation is sure to accompany travelers of the abyss. You may encounter dizziness or out-of-body travel during this curated Brokelabs audio experience, so please exercise caution while traveling. Multi-layered alpha, theta, and delta waves are utilized to assist in the subconscious descent towards separation. Crossing the dimensional veil is optional, yet recommended for the most adventurous travelers. Thank you for riding with Brokelabs. Note: travelers on Shinkai Tram are encouraged to use headphones for optimal stereo immersion. With the physical eyes closed, this audio iteration is the starting point for any astral traveler beginning the ascent of physical separation through an undersea descent through time. Awake, aware, weightlessly floating through the subconscious energetic waters of Shinkai Tram.
Next up, out of the triumvirate, Lynx Linux. How are you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. Yourself as just like a human, as an artist. What's up? Who are you? Introduce yourself.
I'm Lynx Linux. I don't know. I've lived a lot of lives, man. I've been legitimately on tour in a band. I've been a chef. I'm a plumber now. I'm an interdimensional traveler who's looking to acquire an IBM 5100 so I could reconnect with John Teeter. If anyone's got one out there, send one my way.
Hope this man get home.
Please. But if anything, I'm just a guy I got done with my band and still wanted to do stuff. I did things in some other genres, and I saw Macintosh 420 like everyone did within our genre.
Yeah.
And it blew my mind. I then just went down as many rabbit holes as possible and tried to start making it myself as far back as 2014 easily. But it wasn't until Econ 3 that I saw what everyone was doing and really got inspired to get on social media and connect with people, and found these guys through Cosmic Destiny and had kind of a checklist of things that I wanted to do. Checking one off tonight right now. It's truly amazing. It really is. Being a basement artist or whatever you want to call it, it's honestly just the people that I've met in real life and on the internet that matters the most.
So anyone listening in, Econ 3 that was just mentioned, that's Electronicon 3. For Vaporwave, this took place in Brooklyn, New York last August 24th, 29th-ish. Back to Lynx. Yourself musically, you've released 2 albums so far. The first one was titled Reflections of Life. The second one was titled Et tu Amour.
Those 2 were just 2 of a potential 7 that I had kind of coming into this. I had a lot of projects that were 90% that I knew weren't finished yet, that I knew like just needed to be thought about, and Reflections of Life was the perfect thing. I met Ronan online and we kind of talked about maybe putting the tape out, and I really started finishing this album, and the fact that like both of us were fathers, and the story behind this album is I kind of wrote it as a choose your own adventure from an audio standpoint of this potential father gets a text message at the bar, and it says, it's coming, hurry, get home. And he's trying to get home and he's intoxicated. And it's this entire journey home. And it's, I guess, up to you, the listener, to determine whether, I guess me and Ronan had all these discussions about it, where it was like, well, did the dad know that the baby was coming? And I was like, I don't know. Like, the dad could have just been out. The baby could have been coming early. Mm-hmm. That's some of the choose your own adventure stuff. And we included a poem that was in kanji, and it was in the Bandcamp description. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of a metaphor for at least my interpretation of it. And it's up to you, the listener, to determine whether, the main character gets home in the end of it. But I think truly with the visual album, Ronan really hammered home that it's a happy end. And he was really the one that, once again, kind of to echo what Darth said, as an artist who didn't know really what genre I was in or what I was really doing, sometimes I would just like show Ronan stuff and be like, here, is this a complete project? Or like I would go, should I do more? And he was the one who was like, nope, stop. This is it. This goes at the end. And it was just like, no, that's right. And it completes the story.
I think you had 8 tracks for Reflections, and I felt like it kind of ended on a cliffhanger. And I wasn't really sure. I was like, can you do, or really, I think it was just the tape needed to be 30 minutes. I was like, you think you could do a couple more tracks for this? And then you gave me that last track, and I was like, oh, this is the epilogue. This is it. Don't do anything else. This is a complete story now.
Yeah. Listening in, I want to interject here for a second. A lot of this conversation is taking place we're looking at Bandcamp. The way you can look up this label's page on there, Revenaut, that's like astronaut, but Revenaut, REVENAUTCC.bandcamp.com. I'm sure that you could Google Revenaut Cassette Corp Bandcamp online.
And let me just say, Ronan himself was out in the streets, in the rain, in the cold, getting this footage. He was hustling.
Yeah. Can we talk about this a little bit?
None of that was plundered.
Yeah, this particular one, when I listened to Lynx's album and he told me the story about it, I got an image in my head. And, in the vaporwave realm, when we talk about music and visuals, 99.999% of the time we're talking about plundered music, plundered visuals, taking YouTube old Japanese Coke commercial from the 80s and then just slapping that on there, put some effects on it, remixing it,
glitch it,
or old anime or whatever. And for this one I was like, no, I have a vision in my head, so I just got out there with my iPhone 12 and just walked around my neighborhood bar, just kind of getting ambient B-roll of just being a drunk on a Wednesday night, and just really tried to, from a first person view, tell the visual story of this person who, is just absolutely 3 sheets to the wind on just some random weeknight, and his, partner happens to be pregnant, and oops, we're having the baby 2 weeks early, and, I can't find my car keys, and that's a good thing. And just kind of continuing to tell the story visually. Yeah. So I had a lot of fun with that.
Very cool. The genre tags on Bandcamp say that this is experimental vaporwave. It says that these are, this album was ambient, future funk, new world, plunderphonics, slush wave, vapor waltz. Which I've never heard.
That one's specific to Lynx. By the way, a lot of the label has a lot of different tags that don't apply to every single album on there, but Vapor Waltz is kind of Lynx's signature tag.
Way back in the day, before I was on social media, I would share some of my stuff online very sheepishly. One dude who gave me constructive criticism said, like, yeah, you're kind of like Vaporwave, specifically with this album. And sometimes with Vaporwave, a lot of people like to sample, late 70s, 80s music. And to me, obviously, like, to rebel against that, it was like, well, what else can I rip? So I I believe this album is like exclusively the great Lee Oscar, who is a harmonica player for the band War as well. They did the song Lowrider. But no, just something a little out of genre to give a unique sound. And I typically sometimes cut my stuff in 3/4 just to sound unique, which was what this one guy noticed, and he said it was kind of waltzy, which happens to be in a 3/4.
Okay.
So on those specific on a project where I specifically or intentionally do that, I'll put the vapor waltz on it, or if I'm sampling something specifically that I want in 3/4. But that's just me. As far as on this album, one thing that I do heavily is reverse. So syncing something up, a loop up perfectly to where I can reverse it to where it'll almost be 30 seconds before you realize that you're listening to the reverse of what you've been listening to for the first half. And that's part of the reflection story itself.
Some heat, you know.
That's kind of the
It's
goal.
way different than the radio I hear.
Yeah.
That's why I don't listen to radio.
No, to me,
I don't get WMPG down where I'm at. So
Yeah, and let me just say for the radio listeners, I was just telling Brick, I would actually listen to the radio if we got y'all's station. So consider yourself blessed.
We're a pretty good station here. We invite people in. It's a community radio station. If you're listening in, the way that I got involved was I just asked. But anyone listening in, contact the station, WMPG, online. You can volunteer and you can just be like a sub. We give training on how to do everything. And then you can just be like, we send out emails and we say, hey, this guy needs a sub on Thursday night. If you want to dip your toes into the sands, the waters, I don't know. Mixed metaphors are hard for me. If you just want to like get interested and meet some new people and network, he's looking to train new people and kind of start slow. It's a good way to make friends and get in touch with your passions. Go online, email the production manager. It's all online pretty easily if you live here in Portland, Maine. Please. And yeah, I guess do you have a minute to touch on Et tu Amor and what people can expect if they listen to that?
Et tu Amor is part of the St. Caulfield agenda, which I'm bound by an NDA that I cannot speak on anymore on what that is, but it's the closest to legal audio sleaze that you can get. It's legal sleaze. It's
Very
great.
sleazy.
it's a raunchy album, I guess. It's romantic, but like not in a romantic way.
Okay.
Yeah. You know,
It was released on
it's
Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
It's nothing. It's by no means nothing explicit, but I know your mind's already in the gutter. And I'm going to take it just a little bit further. You know, I already know where you're at as the listener. So, you know, I'm going to just, you know, like Pennywise, I'm just there and down in the sewer. Take you just a little bit further down.
You'll float too.
If I can try and help make that just a little more coherent, it's sexy vaporwave. And the we laugh when you bring it up because the visual album on the YouTube channel is extremely raunchy. Like I put a TVMA sticker on it. One of our partners that we work with, Solo Dolo 84 on YouTube.
Yeah.
He's with the
Dolo
Waves.
Dolo.
Yeah, shout out Solo. Honestly, the RCC visual albums, huge contributions from Wave Squad.
Yeah.
I myself as an artist am nothing without Solo Dolo.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly,
Man, is pivotal to the scene.
Yeah.
Aesthetics sell albums, but aesthetics give you a sense of permanent simp. I like his stuff a lot, but like his visuals, I don't know, like his one album feels pink because of his pink album cover. Like colors are the the
Yeah.
book where you read the book. It's dumb, but like visuals are an important part of that. So anyone who does that work, I really like. I'm not good at that.
It's such an important part to me personally, to this scene. I think it's so cool. My favorite bands in my life are gimmick bands. Guar, Alice Cooper, Ghost, Gorillaz. If you have a visual presentation with your music, to me, it's the coolest thing in the world.
So again, if you're listening in, we're talking about Revenant Cassette Corp. That's spelled Revenaut, Revenaut. Cassette Corp. You can find them on YouTube. You can find them most prominently on Bandcamp. And this is Ronan Farrow, who is the leader of the troupe.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I think my journey with music started over 20 years ago. As a teenager in high school, MTV Music Generator on PlayStation 1, started messing around with that with my buddy, and started making beats and stuff. And over the years, evolved into Fruity Loops. And by the mid to late 2000s, as a high school graduate, I was making blips and beats really, putting them on whatever the alternative for that was in the 2000s. I think I went viral a couple times. I had a video or a song get posted on Newgrounds to a Flash animation, and it was a remix of Moonlight Sonata by Beethoven. Okay. And it kind of went viral and ended up getting reposted on YouTube with no credits, multiple times. I have this weird relationship with this track because it's gotten like 1 million views on YouTube over the past decade and a half. Across multiple videos, but I never was able to like harness that lightning and be like, hey, it's me, I'm the artist, here's my album, come check it out. There was no like indie music community that I could really wrap my hands around at the time. It was just me making stuff and maybe putting it up on a cloud hosting site, but mainly just maybe 100 songs that just ended up dying on an old PC hard drive somewhere. So, over the years, I kind of gave up on making music. I wasn't really satisfied with it. I never really found my sound, and ended up getting into DJing, and did a career for about 5 years as a professional DJ, mostly weddings, nothing too sexy, but I did a lot of nightclubs and parties and stuff like that too. And I got really into mixing and doing mashups until I got to the point a couple, maybe about 1.5 years ago where, I just started kind of feeling the itch to, I don't know, it just kind of came out of me at nowhere where, my old creative side of the blips and beeps, were kind of starting to intertwine themselves with the mashups and the mixing I was doing DJing, to where I would just start getting songs stuck in my head, but I would get like more than one song stuck in my head at the same time, until one day I was just like, screw it, I need to hear what this sounds like. So I dug out my old Fruity Loops activation code or license and dusted it off and started popping some wave files in there together, and there's a feeling to it, like a narrative being told. So I started mixing like video game music with like tracks that I listened to 1,000 times back in high school. A lot of Linkin Park, Evanescence, Silent Hill, Donkey Kong Country. Even more like bands that were big back then, like Breaking Benjamin and Puddle of Mud, just whatever crap some random teenage boy was listening to in 2002, 2003. These are just the things that were kind of bouncing around in my head, and I started just kind of slapping them together. It kind of turned into like journal writing. I never really had the ability to write songs in the sense of like writing lyrics or anything like that, but I realized if I could stitch together these songs that were from previous points in my life, I could kind of craft a new narrative around it. And that's kind of how Ronan Farrow was born. He's basically just doing these weird mashups of like video game music, and let's be honest, 90% of it's Linkin Park. Acapellas. So I guess to just kind of say, so yeah, I started crafting it again, but kind of went back in my old ways of, just putting it up on SoundCloud, and okay, that's it. Just me listening to it in my car. And at the time, I had been kind of coming back to vaporwave without really realizing there was a vaporwave scene. My whole experience with this whole vaporwave thing was YouTube. Really, it was just YouTube video mixes, vapor trap mixes from like 2015, 2016 that I would just stumble on and be like, oh man, this is awesome, and just save it. And over the past 7 years, just constantly keep going back to these same playlists over and over again. And I started getting into Pad Chennington, and Everywhere at the End of Time, was really a big pivotal moment for me, where I wasn't even thinking of it as vaporwave at this point. It was just, telling this epic story through sampling old music. And that led me back to Pad and what he's doing on YouTube, and, his deep dives on vaporwave. And I started realizing, what's Bandcamp? Oh, Bandcamp is kind of like Spotify for independent artists who want to get their albums out to each other, rather than just posting track after track on SoundCloud or whatever kind of service you might use for that. But yeah, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna create a Bandcamp page, and then bam, grand opening, and that's it. I was just some guy with a Bandcamp page, one in a million. Heart.ep is a side story separate from Thalassoboros. Thalassoboros we'll talk about that here in a little bit, but it's my White Whale album. After going to New York City for 100% Electronicon 3, I brought back some new music to inspire an EP. This EP contains 3 tracks that were built from the ground up for compilations, 1 track that is a mashup of one of the tracks from Thalassoboros with 2 amazing musicians that I met in New York City. Soon, I'm sorry, I gotta laugh because I called this guy Spoovin. He told me his name is Soon, but I was like, I like Spoovin though, so I wanted to give it right.
It's SVUV, anyone listening in.
It's Soon. SVU, super talented vocalist. Great track. And then Smooth Brain, one of the other guys I met in New York City. He was a chiptune artist. And 1 track called Heart.Wave that was crafted with all the emotions I brought back from my trip, namely my love for my wife, my daughters, the vaporwave community, and myself. Like I said earlier, my music is specifically to me, it's journal entries. It's every song I write is kind of about some kind of moment in my life that I'm going through at that time. Going to Electronicon 3, I don't know if we're ready to go into the whole 20-minute diatribe on Electronicon 3, but I'll just say for this part of the interview that it was a big deal. It was a bucket list item. I had never been to New York City before. I was 34 years old. I'd never been to a music festival that I wanted to go to. Sure, I'd been to concerts and stuff, but I never said I want to go to this music festival and picked something and bought the plane ticket and went by myself. And I went up there, and I made friends on Discord before I went, so that when I got up there, I wouldn't be by myself. And I met all these amazing people. And, I got exposed to all this amazing music. The whole reason we're here now is because of the music. And, I basically went to Mecca. I went to Jerusalem during, prayer. It's
the vaporwave pilgrimage.
Yeah, exactly. And, I remember leaving, that Monday at the airport. I was listening to Vitesse X's album, who I'd never heard of her before, and just got exposed to her music there live in person. I was just loving this album, and the first song on the album talks about don't wait for life to present your opportunities for you. Get up, get off your ass, go out and take it. And I'm literally sitting in the airport bathroom, just sitting there crying, just thinking how did I get to this point in my life where the call is so strong? And it's well, I don't have any choice but to answer it at this point and just dive in, because I had just felt like I'd spent so much of my life just avoiding the call and just kind of trying to keep my head down and everything. So it was a big moment, and that's kind of where this song came from.
I wrote this down. I don't know where it's from. I've tried to Google it. It's nowhere. But the quote is, and it's burned in my memory now, why gaze upon the ocean when you can be a part of it? I have no idea where that's from. I cannot find it. And that's exactly how I feel about, if you want to make music and come join us and just make a thing that you love. And that album you made, 5 tracks on heart.ep, what's it like?
It's an eclectic mix. So we just got done talking about concept albums, and this is not a concept album because I had been working on a concept album for about a year at that point. That was just, I was at a turning point. I wasn't sure what I was doing with this album at this point, and I had just started working on submissions for compilation albums. So I had one track called 32X that was made for a compilation with Cloud Corp, and these two guys were also on that compilation. It was a beachy theme track. You know, that one I just spent a weekend with my wife and kids out at a at an RV resort, swimming in the pool, and I just had a really good experience spending, you know, quality time with the girls, and you know, that's kind of where the feelings from that music came from. The next track was the one I did for Froggy Wave, which is called Rainforest Cafe, which, you know, frogs. I just wanted to do something kind of rainforesty and jungly. So all these songs are just mashups of different things. And then there's another track. Anyway, it's just a collection of compilation tracks. And then that one track, Heart.Wave, was sort of my really journal moment. And that was, I think I used more samples in that track than any track I'd ever done at this point. And it's got Star Fox 64. It's got a song by Alanis Morissette called The Couch. And that's the vocal hook where she goes, I love you more now than I ever have in my whole life. And that hook was kind of stuck in my head, thinking about, you know, just as emotional as I was, thinking about, you know, like my wife for being so supportive and letting me go up to this festival and have a little midlife crisis, and how cool she was being about it. And, you know, how much I loved myself and was like comfortable in my own skin. And how much I loved, you know, the friends I had made up there in this community I'd found myself a part of. So just a lot of emotions went into that.
Again, this is a really long show tonight. Anyone tuning in, we're talking with Ronan Farrow, talking with Darthwave, talking with Linux, the triumvirate of Revenant Cassette Corp. I think we finished up the artist talk, but the label.
Okay, yeah, the genesis of the label. Let's see. You know, so we talked about Electronicon 3. You know, I and, you know, a couple thousand other people flew back to their homes from New York City after Electronicon 3 with all this creative juices flowing. What happened for me was kind of unique because on the way to Electronicon 3, I was like, I don't know anybody in this scene at all. I don't want to go to a concert by myself. That sucks. So I went on Reddit and I was like hitting at people. I was like, hey, if anybody's going to Electronicon by yourself, hit me up. It seemed like people were using Discord. I didn't know much about Discord. I was like, I'll do a Discord server. You know, over the course of the week leading up to it, and by the time being there, meeting all these people there, we ended up putting together a Discord server of like 50 people all meeting up in person at Econ. And then after getting back, it was cool because if anybody listening has never used Discord before, I hadn't either up to that point. It turned out to be a really cool way to keep up with, you know, a small community of people. And, you know, we were chatting every day about Vaporwave. You know, I think it got to a certain point where I was like, you know what? I think this is where I'm going to find that sweet spot is, you know, working with a group of talented artists, because everybody's got something to bring to the table. So I decided, okay, I just came back from the Mecca and saw, you know, 1,000 different little mini record labels. I guess it wouldn't be crazy to be like, I'll start a record label. So I made a new Bandcamp page. I was like, I need something to put on it. So I took those compilation tracks and just threw together Heart.ep real quick and put it up as an album. Mm-hmm. And from there I was like, okay, you know what? It's about to be October. I don't think anybody's doing anything with Halloween. Let me see if I can get a couple guys together to put together a Halloween compilation.
Jeez Louise. Scott? Can I come in? No, Dad. No, I'm doing something in here. All set. You may be surprised.
So I started sending out tweets, hey, who wants to do a Halloween compilation? And Lynx Linux was one of the people who responded to it, and there were a couple others. I was like, cool, maybe we'll have 20, 30 minutes worth of music. It should be fun. And then they just kept on coming. They kept on coming. They kept on coming. They kept on coming until we got to a point where we had 30 track submissions. Long story short, this whole project just got out of control for me, but I just had this weird obsession with it. It has to be perfect. It has to have a video, and it has to have interludes, and all the tracks have to be mastered. And I can't cut anyone. I can't say no to anyone. We have to have they all got to be here because they're all good. And I like all of them. And that's what ended up happening. And I ended up losing a lot of sleep in October trying to get this comp to drop, in time for Halloween. So we got the digital album out a week before Halloween.
Cubo, the lonely Pokemon, a ground type. Cubo wears a skull as a helmet, concealing its face as it sheds tears for...
And I was like, okay, and then we'll debut the video album, on Halloween Day, everybody. How great is that going to be? And then over the next 7 days is just me going, oh crap, I got to put together 35 videos. And a lot of that was Solo Dolo, who we talked about before from YouTube. He was one of the people in the server who was like, yeah, man, I'm up for anything. Let's do it. And the guys at work, he just kept cranking out video after video after video. And I'm just racing night to just slap footage together. But of course, when I'm doing that, I can't just slap some footage to some audio. I got to spend an hour on it because I'm like, I think that cut could have been a little bit better right there. A lot of great artists participated on it. People who, have just only become bigger parts of the community. That's kind of how I got to know Darthwave a little bit better as well. That's where Lynx Linux reached out to me and was like, hey, I made this song. Here's my submission. I think it should be the last track on the album because I think it's really special. I was like, oh, geez, buddy, I got 29 of these things to go through. And then I listened to it. I was like, yeah, actually, this is a really good closer, man. Thank you. And then me and him started talking more. And he's like, yeah, man, I'm down to help out with whatever you need. Yeah. I was like, good, because I need a lot of help. I'm totally flying by the seat of my pants here and I have no idea what I'm doing. It's called Moon-Based Thanatos.
Look it up. You can find it on Bandcamp, Moon-Based Thanatos. You can find it on YouTube as well.
It's iconic. It is the vaporwave Halloween party. I mean, I checked. There's a couple vaporwave Halloween mixtapes that were just some existing songs with some old Halloween movies for footage, but I'm very proud of this product. This
is an hour and a half video mix that's perfect to just have on repeat on your TV Halloween week.
Voodoo, mysticism, and organisms from space. A biologist in Stockton, California, have released a report stating that the bodies of the recently dead are returning to life.
And then it was the next compilation that I decided to take part in. I don't know if I was invited or if I just wanted to, but
I targeted you. I wanted you.
He's the headhunter.
Jeez.
I targeted you. That's what I do
Yeah.
for the label, man. I don't do a lot of graphic design. I can just crank out mad amounts of music and I can scour the depths of SoundCloud and Bandcamp. I happen to be an amicable person for some reason. So
Every
that's kind of what I
community
do.
needs somebody like Lynx. He's like the glue.
Yeah,
That's what I do for the label,
Links
honestly.
connections.
The description of that compilation is by the way, the album is called Redemption Arc. For anyone listening in, that's Arc with a K. Redemption Arc is an 11-track compilation album featuring 11 artists, I don't know, reinterpretations of one sample, released in partnership with File Under Records. This was released back in December 2022. And again, I want to emphasize, you guys are like brand new. I'm always looking for like the newest music being released. This compilation took place about, like 4 or 5 months ago now, I think.
Yeah, it was just an idea that happened. It came out of just talking about the concepts or the quote unquote ethics or of vaporwave. You know, there was the debate over sampling or not sampling and what was what. And I just said, hey, has anyone done, I know there's been like sample competitions before, but has anyone like literally done like, no, I want to do a from beginning to end compilation of one song, find enough diverse artists who can flip this in so many different ways that we can take the listener on a journey with one track. 11 tracks by 11 different artists using the same 4 minutes and 40 seconds of sample audio. And we can make that stuff sound ridiculously different. And to me, it's the same thing as every artist uses a canvas, the same set of paints, the same brush, but it's the artist technique, it's the artist approach that makes the painting final. And to me, that was the experiment with that compilation, and I'd love to do another one.
And again, shout out. It was Solo Dolo, you said, that did the whole visual album, right?
I think so. He did the whole thing, right?
Yes, yes, he did.
Like, it's the first time that an artist has ever made like a music video, which I consider it to be like for something that I made, and he did like a phenomenal job.
Really?
So again, if anyone wants visual design, Solo Dolo 84 is like, go check him out.
And he has this ability to interpret exactly the artist's intent without any kind of conversation. He'll listen to your song and he'll come up with the perfect, most like accurate visuals to go along with it. And he pulls from the archive of stuff that you probably haven't seen or thought was lost to time.
I watched a lot of TV as a kid. There's a lot of early 90s.
He is a walking archive.
Cable,
After that, you guys released Worldwide Edition, an album by the artist
Carte Blanche. We're 3 hours in, and we're just now name dropping Carte Blanche for the first time. What the hell?
I know, right?
This will be cut very gently, to make the time.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to talk Carte Blanche?
Yeah.
Let's talk Carte Blanche.
Let me take
The
ball on carte
views
blanche.
on that video, shout outs to the Wave Squad and Crispy Doodles and Solo Dolo once again.
Solo
That's-
was Cart's friend. Solo referred Cart to us, and he was like, "This is my friend. You guys should do something with his stuff." And I was like, "Oh yeah, we kind of just started this. We don't really know what we're doing yet. We just cranked out 2 things by the skin of our teeth. We have no idea what we're doing next. Sure, let's see what he's got." And then there's this really iconic, classic vaporwave album. It just, I mean, I've listened to it so many times, like it's imprinted on the back of my brain right next to Echo Jams, right next to Macintosh, right next to, all the classics from like 2010, 2012. It's just iconic like that. It's that style, and it's his own too. But yeah, they referred it to us. We loved it immediately, and we talked to their crew, Wave Squad. It's such a good album. That album alone on Carte Blanche's solo YouTube page had like 4,000 views on it.
Let me just say, the amount of people I've heard say that Melted Sunset, a track on this album, has them in a chokehold is insurmountable.
God, I hate to keep rushing around. After that release, you guys released Ed to a More by Lynx Linux. We talked about that. We released Tram by Darthwave. We talked about that, which kind of sort of got a cassette release, kind of historically, sort of. But the next true kind of release with by another artist was Golden Gush with the album titled Virtual Vaults. More of like a vapor trappy album, am I right?
So Golden Gush is an artist that I connected with when I was just going through the depths of SoundCloud. I was scrolling through the Slushwave tag one day and found a standout track among the rest. And I was like, okay. And so I checked this guy out, and he didn't have like a bunch of stuff. There wasn't a Bandcamp page for him, any associated links. So I had to go to my laptop because you can't message people on SoundCloud Mobile. So I messaged this guy.
Yes.
I was I just wanted to talk to him. I was going to talk to him and be like, hey, I really enjoyed that song. I like telling people whenever they have an impact on me with some music or art that they've created. So we just kind of started talking and becoming friends and whatnot. And this was before I even started Broke Labs. In that time period of us talking, I had started Broke Labs, and so I was like, hey, I want to publish your music. It was his dream, he told me, to have his music on cassette. So I said, I can make that happen. And I would love to do it. So we started making it happen. He had this really great Vapor Trap album that he had for me. And that's Virtual Vault. Mm-hmm. And it's all original production, really great production value. His mastering quality is pretty great. He's a really great artist, and he's got several more releases for us coming soon. So and he definitely embodies the the mindset that I want to convey with Broke Labs. He's a very deep thinker, introspective person, spiritual aspect to him. Really great guy.
After that release, you guys have your most recent release, which was just put out. If I check Bandcamp right here, April the 7th. This is being recorded on April 23rd. This is almost as new as you can get. You guys released the album Signal Loss by the band named Restore Point.
Restore Point, I guess this is, I'm listening to them talk about, Darth talk about how he scouted somebody on SoundCloud, and I was like, man, I never did that. And I was like, well, actually I did, because Restore Point was somebody that probably like a year and a half ago, I was on the subreddit for I forget the name of the subreddit, but it's just people like indie music makers wanting to get feedback. I think it's r/indie music feedback. And I spent a lot of time there at the time because I just did not have an audience for my own music, and I wasn't really sure what direction I was going with it. And some guy, and the rule is, you got to listen to other people's stuff and give comments before you can request comments for yours. And so, there's a lot of SoundCloud rap, a lot of weird stuff. And then this guy posts this, and I click on it, and it is just the coolest breakbeat, heavy metal, Chinese kung fu style sounding track I'd ever heard. And then I go check out his Bandcamp. He's got he's got no followers on Bandcamp. I'm like, why is this so polished? The art looked like it was professionally done. The music was kind of like with Golden Gush, just mastered really well. The bass, the treble, the mids, everything's just right. It's not amateur sounding. At all. I ended up, giving him a comment and then following him on Bandcamp, and then didn't talk to him after that. And then a year later, he posts a message to his Bandcamp followers that he's releasing an album. I check it out, and then I try to find him on Twitter. He's not on Twitter. I try to find him on SoundCloud. He's not on SoundCloud. So I think I just ended up finding his email address through Bandcamp and sending him an email, just being like, hey man, I really like your stuff. Can I put this on a cassette tape? And he got back to me and was like, why would you want to put music on a cassette tape? It's 2022. And, I ended up talking to him about the whole vaporwave scene and actually cassettes are coming back and, people are buying them and yada, yada. So, we had a Zoom with him and sold him on the idea of it. And he saw what we were doing and he could tell that we had the same eye for polish that he did. And so far we've got the digital released on the Bandcamp. It's a phenomenal album. It's fast, it's hard, it's introspective, it's slow at times. It's another concept album. How vaporwave is that? It's not vaporwave sonically, but it's vaporwave in the sense of it's a concept album about a computer that's deteriorating and dying. It's I want to be a vaporwave label, but I also don't want to be a vaporwave label. I want to be a label. But I'm trying to keep that vaporwave audience and stay in that vaporwave community while bringing people in from the outside and bringing people from the vaporwave community. I know you guys listen to other types of music too, and so far it's been pretty successful.
I want to thank the three of you guys again. I asked the group or just Ronan, I don't know who I asked, to create a guest mix for me. What are we going to hear on there? And are we going to hear anything that kind of hints towards the future of where you guys are headed?
It's a sampler of one track from each release we've done up so far, all the way from Heart.ep all the way up to Restore Point. And then we've got a couple unreleased tracks on there. We've got a track from It's Enzo. He's got an upcoming album next month called Deprived Hearts Come Home Tonight. It's a really cool synthwave track, and It's Enzo is based out of Marrakesh, Morocco, super talented artist. He was on one of our compilations. And then we've got a track that's trending by Oscar Rhodes. It's called You Are, and it's from his upcoming album. Feel Like This, which we're probably going to release sometime in the summer when it's ready. Both have great visuals to go with it. And then one track from Thalassoboros, which is my unreleased album, which, long story short, I worked on this album for about a year. There's probably an hour and a half worth of audio on it, and I just never really got to a point where I felt like it was finished, but I felt like I needed to move on with it. Move my life on from it. So I went ahead and stealth dropped it. So if anybody's interested, tweet at me at I am Ronan Farrow, and I'll give you a free download code.
Thanks again so much, you guys.
Much love.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Sam, we appreciate you.
Yeah. Can we get like a 1 minute shout out to Midwest? I can't say the name.
Midwest Aesthetics.
You guys are
Midwest Aesthetics.
July 29th.
Shout out to
Actually, hey, hold on. They dropped the X.
Winter Mute.
Midwest Aesthetic.
Midwest
Summer.
Aesthetic.
Midwest Aesthetics. Shout out to Winter Mute. Ethan.
Winter Muse.
It's going to be at the Union Saloon, Madison, Wisconsin, July 29th. Starts at 6 o'clock, ends at 1 p.m. We have, give me
I
one
thought it was
sec.
AM.
You guys got a table.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Some
6 p.m. to 1 a.m.
Yeah.
6 p.m. to 1 a.m. So we're going to be going all night. Need to see everybody out there.
Everyone's like 37 with kids. We can't go to 1 a.m.
If you're in Portland, Maine, and you're 37 with
Bring your
kids,
kids. It's
perfect
baby's
time to
first
book an
race.
air flight ticket to Madison, Wisconsin,
Midwest.
for the biggest
your ticket.
vaporwave show of the year.
Here, the guest mix is starting up, you guys. Thanks again so much for talking with me, and we'll see you in person at that festival coming up. And like I said, thanks again.
Thank you,
Later.
Brickmason.
Much love. Bless everybody. Thanks for listening. Love you, Portland.
Later.
Good night, Maine.
See ya.